All right, everybody, welcome to Hot Route Takes. Once again, it is me, Chase Owens, with my co-host Brian Sarver. We are missing our third guy once again, Christian Mills, just rounding back in from vacation, so he wasn't able to be with us tonight. But nonetheless, we'll touch on his Chargers and all the action from Week 3 of NFL football. Huge upset week across the landscape in the NFL. Three big games that really no one saw coming. That big underdogs in the NFL emerge victorious. We're going to touch on each of those along with the 70-point outburst from Brian's Miami Dolphins, just looking incredible on the offensive side of the football and moving to 3-0. But to start it, we're going to get back to our Thursday night football game, which was between San Francisco and the New York Giants. Actually, held the theme of this week to where the underdog played very tight with this heavy favorite for quite a while, but eventually in the end, San Fran did pull away to a 30-12 victory. Although the game was tight going into the fourth quarter, it never really felt out of hand for San Fran. The defense was playing such lights out, and just more of what I'm used to seeing with this team. Brock Purdy, he put up some numbers in terms of yardage, but he still was missing throws here and there. So they leaned on McCaffrey's dynamic run game and the playmakers and Debo and everyone and Kittle and everyone else to really put this game away and just dominate the Giants from start to finish, really.
Yeah, they did, and I think that's exactly what happened. Just a domination on the 49ers side of things. The Giants were, of course, shorthanded, not having Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller and company. Just not a whole lot going on for weapons for Daniel Jones to work with. And it's kind of performance you get, 6.2 yards per pass, an interception. Just the Giants didn't have enough power to really go up against this 49ers defense. And I'd say Brock Purdy played well. I don't think he, overachieved by no means, and these stats are a little bit inflated for the actual performance he put out on the field. I think 2/3 of his total yardage were from Yak. And, you can't take anything away from the guy because he's just doing what he's supposed to do for the offense to work. But, it's just a well-oiled machine, and they mowed him down. That's really what happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we expected in this one, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. As we move on to the Sunday slate of games, opening with the 1 o'clock window, we had a matchup of the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons. I believe I did go with Detroit in this one. I can't remember who you had, Brian, but
I went with Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought you did because the Bijan show has been in full force these first couple weeks, and Atlanta just seemed reluctant to get him involved, especially in the first half. Only 10 carries total on the day, and I mean that relates to their 6-point output. Desmond Ridder threw the ball 38 times. Not the formula you're looking for out of Atlanta. Detroit, on their side of the football, Goff doing what he usually does, efficient in what he does. Jahmyr Gibbs led the team in rushing attempts, who we were both saying we were looking forward to seeing this guy more involved, and Detroit made a concerted effort to do that with him, getting 17 carries for 80 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, another big day. Same type of thing he usually puts out there. So overall, an impressive win, a 20-6 victory. I will point out someone I wanted to show love to last week. I didn't get a chance to. That's rookie tight end Sam Laporta. Had his first touchdown catch today, 8 for 84 today. He made a number of impressive catches last week. I think he's in for a big rookie year. He looks to be a big vocal point of the offense, and I'm loving the early outputs from his rookie season so far.
Yeah, he's been involved quite a bit over these first couple of weeks. And, for tight ends, that's unheard of because it normally takes them a while to acclimate to the NFL. But they clearly had a plan for Sam Laporta, and they had a role in this offense for Sam Laporta, and he's been executing it at a high level. And you really love to see that. They really like these Iowa tight ends because they did invest a high pick in former tight end
Hawkinson.
TJ Hawkinson, number 8 overall pick, I believe. So a pretty high pick, and Sam Laporta looks to be performing a little bit better than he was.
Yeah, that was a decision to let go of him and trade him to Minnesota, and now Hawkinson has cashed in on his big payday with Minnesota. But you could argue early returns from Sam Laporta, they've got the better end of this deal so far because he's putting up impressive numbers, and his chemistry with Goff early on looks good. So really what we're seeing from Detroit isn't unexpected. We were both high on this team coming in, and Atlanta's no slouch, especially on the line on both sides of the ball and the secondary. So getting a 2-score victory against that team, undefeated Atlanta, giving them their first loss, no sneezing effort. Like it looked complete Detroit Lions football and what we expected. So
I was a little bit shocked. I will say I was thinking that this Atlanta Falcons front on the offensive line was going to get some push on this defensive line for Detroit, but Aiden Hutchinson and company really locked it down. I watched this game. This is one of the few games I paid attention to in the 1:00 slate. This one, obviously the Miami game, and I watched the Chargers Tennessee game as well. So lots of good action in the 1:00 slate. This one was kind of a defensive slugfest, I would say. Even Detroit had a hard time, especially in the first half, getting things moving. But Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, those guys did enough to win the football game, and credit to them because both defenses played well.
Yeah, I think the difference was they hit the big plays, whereas Atlanta struggled to generate any of those. And just another complete performance, both sides of the ball, and Dan Campbell and company's looking good, looking like maybe the favorite in that division, as we thought. Moving on to probably one of the game that was on schedule, on script for exactly what we thought, and that is the defensive slugfest between the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. New England taking this one 15-10, picking up their first win of the year, and really nothing out of the ordinary from what we thought we were going to get. Zach Wilson struggling mightily today. So New York made a concerted effort to try to establish a ground game, especially after Breece Hall's obvious frustration last week. They made an effort to get that going. Nothing to be there. New England had that very well snuffed out, and they just played sound, clean football on the other side and just really forced Zach Wilson to beat them, and he was unable to do so. So New England looked this is the most New England win I could think of in a Bill Belichick game, honestly. So ending it with that safety was kind of just poetic justice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot more to say here. I would say one thing I wanted to add was so through 3 games, the Jets offense has accumulated 675 yards. Not very good. And I know a lot of media experts and pundits and all these guys, thought the Jets were going to be better than Miami, and Miami came out today and put up 726 yards in 1 game, which is more than the Jets had in 3 games. Granted, Aaron Rodgers, no one wants to see that. No one wants to see injury. But here we are 3 weeks into the season, and this is where we're at. And I just think, it's crazy on that side of it for the Jets. I'm sure they don't know what's going on right now. The expectations were up here, and they're back down here again, and it's just like, how many times is this going to happen to the Jets? But
yeah,
but here we are. And as a Dolphins fan, I'm trying to be objective, but it's kind of tough.
Well, yeah, I mean, by no means, you're like me. I'm never going to sit here. I've got the Steelers game on right now watching these guys play Vegas. I'm never going to sit down and say, all right, Kenny Pickett and company, let's get things going. I want to see some good off. Like, I can't do it. It's not in my blood. It never will be. That said, I try to call things how I see it with my rivals. I think you've done the same. And you said coming into this year, you thought the Jets were overrated. The line was a huge question. And me and Christian bought into the Aaron Rodgers can mask that thing a lot more. And we were hopeful it would happen. But ultimately, the unfortunate injury week 1, we'll never know. We'll never know. And I just expect more of this type of performances when Zach Wilson's trotting out on the field. Albeit you're facing a better New England defense and a great scheme, it's just going to be tough work. Unless you're playing like a Minnesota-type defense, I don't know how the Jets can move the ball with Zach Wilson. I really don't. So
it's going to be rough going forward.
Yeah. Unfortunate. We'll move to – that wasn't even the lowest output in terms of points from a team this afternoon. It was actually courtesy of the Tennessee Titans, who picked up such a huge win last week over LA in overtime. To come back out with this type of performance against Cleveland, falling 27-3 on the road, very disappointing, especially when we had the question marks because Cleveland is now without Nick Chubb for the year. Good as
Good
he's out for
news
the
on that
year. I'm going
front.
to say good news to hear it's not career threatening, and he is going to be able to return to football at some point. So that was encouraging to hear. But we thought that without him, this offense would struggle more. Not saying it lit the world on fire today, but 27 points is good. And then they just fed off their defense, who had Derrick Henry on lock all day, nothing going on the ground, and Mr. Tannehill only eclipsing just over 100 yards. Yeah,
Sheesh.
these are the type of performances that won't have him starting many more games. I mean, he looked good last week, but to bounce back or to come back with this type of performance, yeah, he won't be in for a lot of starts going forward if this keeps up.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if Tennessee starts going downhill and, things start looking bleak for their playoff chances. But right now, they still are in the thick of it, and I wouldn't be surprised they keep trotting Tannehill back out there for the short term. But as soon as stuff starts going downhill, I think they're going to pull the trigger and put in one of these young quarterbacks, and Will Levis or Malik Willis. But on the other side of things, with Cleveland, you got to be encouraged by not just your defense, but having Deshaun Watson play a better game than he has really since he's played for the Browns. This is one of his better performances as far as a statistical output and avoiding negative plays. I don't think he had a fumble loss.
Yeah.
Let me take that back. But he didn't have an interception. He was only sacked 3 times, which is a lot better than 7 times last week. Granted, this
Yeah.
Tennessee defense is sorely lacking in certain areas, but, still, you got to hit your layups when they're there, and that's what Deshaun Watson did, and you can't blame him for it.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
performance overall.
Yeah, I was about to say, from where he was last week, you're facing a great Steelers defense, but he looked about as bad as you could,
Yeah.
and just playing a lot cleaner. And as we said, Cleveland's success is going to be riding on his shoulders now, especially without Nick Chubb. So good on him for bouncing back and having a clean game, probably his cleanest one in a Browns uniform. We'll move on to the matchup between the Saints and the Packers. The Saints had this one at hand, it seemed, for most of the game, led 17-0. They got a Rashid Shaheed punt return touchdown. Derek Carr was looking fine. Unfortunately, he went out of this game with a shoulder injury. I hadn't seen the feedback and the severity on that yet. Hopefully, he's okay. But once that happened and the fourth quarter rolled around, Green Bay put up 18 unanswered, including a Romeo Dobbs, however you say it, 8-yard touchdown pass from Love in the final 3 minutes to take the final lead of this football game. I thought the Saints defense had been doing what they had been doing the first 2 weeks, playing sound, complementary football, and maybe the lack of production from the offense kind of caught up to them in the fourth quarter. And Jordan Love, he stuck with it. He had a rough first half, but he stuck with it and kept targeting his Romeo, and looks like Jaden Reed got some
Yep.
love. Just credit to him. Never caving in after the interception or the rough first half. Really no ground game to speak of either, with Jones out. So this win is on his shoulders, and I'm again impressed from what I'm seeing with Jordan Love.
Yeah, he led the team in rushing. Like you said, 39 yards, touchdown. And he did not have a very good first half. He's, again, without Christian Watson. The Saints jumped up on him, but I think the tides kind of turned once Derek Carr left the game. They started finding some momentum on offense. Green Bay did. And, he spread the ball all over the yard today. I mean, Romeo Doubs, 5 catches, 73 yards. Jaden Reed, 3 catches, 63 yards. Luke Musgrave, 6 catches, 49 yards. Dante Wicks, I believe is his name, 4 catches, 45 yards. That's spreading the ball around.
Yeah.
That's something these elite quarterbacks do, that just understand the game at a high level and just know where the ball needs to go. And, I'm not saying Jordan Love is that, but I got to look at the tape at least to see. But man, this is a very inspiring performance, especially coming into this, having a rough couple quarters and being down. Nothing's clicking offensively, no run game. They're getting after you. And just to be able to answer back and win this football game is very impressive to me.
Yeah, I agree, Brian. Loving the early returns out of Green Bay so far. That said, I think the most impressive performance of the day belongs to your Miami Dolphins. 70 points in a NFL game. I mean, there's a lot of times you see the almighty Georgia Bulldogs lined up against the opposite side, Furman Paladins or whatever FCS division, whatever school it may be, and they don't put up 70 points in a college football game. 70 points in an NFL game, Brian. You had to love every second of what you were watching. Just looking for me at the box score here, I want to touch on the impressive rushing attack between that two-headed monster and Devin and Raheem Mostert. I mean, over 200 yards for Achane. Is it Achane?
A-Chain.
A-Chain. I mean, he's making a name for himself. I'm going to need to know how to pronounce this name because over 200, and then Tua is as efficient as ever. I mean, this is reminiscent. I've seen some high-powered offense, but to get that up that big and have your backups come in and just keep doing that, hit a bomb to Chosen Anderson, Mike White did, very reminiscent of what I saw in 2019 with the Ravens. It felt like our offense got a lead and just kept extending and really never letting up on the opposition all year. I'm getting that same type of vibe from Miami early on. Just loving what I see. And on the opposite side, Denver has really hit rock bottom. If you haven't had a chance to hear it yet, go listen to Garrett Bowl, the offensive lineman's interview. He and the rest of that locker room is really down in the dumps. I mean, all the expectations coming into last year, that disappointing season, and then an 0-3 start with a new head coach regimen. Just more of the same, just more disappointment for Denver. And on the flip side, just a great trajectory. These two teams have been going in opposite directions for a long time. So I want you to touch on what you saw out of this game because I know you're enjoying every second.
Yeah, man, I was told that Patrick Surtain was going to lock up Tyreek Hill. He's going to follow him, and this offense is going to struggle because there's no Jalen Waddle today. Man, there hasn't been a more complete team performance that I've witnessed in my lifetime than what I saw these Miami Dolphins do to the Denver Broncos. I mean, rushing attack, outside zone, inside zone, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, the defense had no answers for whatever Miami had to do. It didn't matter. Miami could have called any play in the playbook, and it would have worked. That's the kind of day they had today. And I know you're comparing them to the Ravens, who had a great, awesome season 2019. But the offense that this reminds me of is the greatest show on turf with the Rams and Kurt Warner.
Yeah, we 100% did it on the ground and established leads and just kind of out physical teams in that way. Make no mistake, Tua is operating. He is the conductor, and the 70 points, this type of outburst, all funnels through him and his ability to spread the ball around, and Tyreek Hill being the most dynamic playmaker in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. People look at the stat sheet, people will look at the game, and they will be like, man, Tua, he's good, but, all these guys look wide open. But if you watch the film, he is throwing these footballs before they're open. He's anticipating windows open. He's stepping up in the pocket. He's doing all these little things that is just elite quarterback play that, doesn't pop out off the screen at you. It's little things, subtle things like stepping up in the pocket, pump fake, looking off defenders, throwing it behind their ear hole. He's been excellent, man. I don't think you could have asked anything more of a franchise quarterback than what Tua is doing right now for this Miami Dolphins team. Of course, he's got weapons on this team. They gave him these weapons. But, the goalpost would just keep getting moved because now Tua's doing good. It's because of the weapons. So
it's always going to be a narrative. I've heard it for Lamar with so long, and these elite type guys that have a trait or a part of their game that's not flashy, like Tua's arm strength per se. Yep. The way Lamar just depends on his legs per se. That is such an easy target for media to attack because it's not conventional. It's not the way we've seen football games won in the past, the greatest show on turf and all these the elite game management of a Peyton Manning and that high-powered offense and the football IQ. Those type of things are, I guess, more sexy in back in the day and what appeals to NFL audiences. But at the end of the day, man, it's about making the plays and putting up points. This offense is doing it at a rate that I don't know if anyone's ever going to match this output, and I don't see how to slow it down right now. I truly don't. the opponents are what they are. You faced who you faced. You only play your schedule. So I want to see this team against some more high-powered defenses. But, I mean, if I'm a betting man, I'm still taking this offense because I've yet to see anyone cover Tyreek Hill, and I've yet to see Tua make the mental mistakes that can cost an offense any momentum and anything along that sort. So, 3-0 start. Your Dolphins, the only undefeated team left in the AFC, looking like the early heavyweight, in my opinion, and really I think the majority of the pundits' opinion in the AFC. So,
There's a litmus test next week, man. You know who we
it
got?
it is Buffalo, and that will
Yep.
be a must-watch game. We're going to cover that in depth on our preview pod here coming this week, and just mouth-watering stuff because Buffalo looks like old Buffalo these last 2 weeks. Really excited to watch that one and see how this high-powered offense goes into that matchup. So, with all the love out the way for Miami, we'll try to move on. Let's show Christian some love. We hadn't got to talk to him this week. I missed the heck out of my guy. And his Chargers finally picked up their first win of the year. A 1-2 start, but albeit they got off the snide and they got a victory over Minnesota today. 28-24 the final score there. A fourth quarter touchdown from Herbert to Palmer, which, not to make you mad, Christian, that could have been picked off, buddy. I'm not gonna, but other than that throw, Herbert had himself a day. Make no mistake, that offense was humming too. The defense made just enough plays, and ultimately, them getting in the end zone is what won them this game. Herbert, they banked on his arm today with no Eckler again. 47 passes attempted, 405 yards, a rating of 123. Like, very, very good day for Herbert. Don't make a mistake about that. And that's what was needed because the ground game was non-existent. Just 12 yards, the leading rusher from Joshua Kelly. But when you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams both having the days they did, Allen over 200, Mike Williams over 120, and a touchdown catch, that's what you paid these guys for. That's what you're invested in, and that's what this offense has been in Herbert's career. And in this outing, it was enough to get them the victory. So good work from them.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's funny because both of these teams play very similar styles of ball at this point in time. Like, they can march the football up and down the field, but neither one of them can run the football, and neither one of them can play an ounce of defense. I'm almost more concerned about the Chargers after this game than I was before this game because they certainly played down to their competition here. I think they should have won this game a little bit more, and this defense is just, they can't stop a cold, man. And the reason why I say that is Herbert played a dang near perfect football game, and they won by 4 points. He played amazing, man. Herbert was 40 of 47 for 405 yards, averaging 10 yards a pass, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Well, he had a fumble loss. That's got me twice now.
You're good. You're good.
I mean, man, what more can he do, really? Of course, he was 1 yard short of leading the team in rushing with 11 yards rushing.
It's sad, and I mean, his day shouldn't be understated. The Vikings, they blitzed on 40 of his 50 dropbacks. This is according to Next Gen Stats. The second highest blitz rate in a game in the Next Gen Stats era. Herbert averaged 2.26 seconds time to throw. His first game under 2.4, and it was a career high 16 percentage over completion percentage expected rate. So awesome. they were throwing the house at him, and they were just like, beat us. You're the guy. If you're going to win this game, it's going to be because of you. And he answered the bell. So credit to that. But for me, I'm like you. I'm just still so concerned with this Chargers secondary. J.C. Jackson, a healthy scratch today.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. And that contract is, that's looking like a major flop right now. So big concern for me.
Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, have they logged a sack yet this season?
Joey had I think a sack and a half last week.
Okay.
But yeah, they need, if the corners are going to be this bad, they need those guys to be dogs. Like, they got to be at the quarterback, and it's not happening every snap, and they can't do it every snap, but they need this secondary to pick it up, or they're going to be fighting hard for a playoff spot.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And so through 3 games, I don't know how much money's tied up between Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, but it's a lot. And J.C. Jackson. But in 3 games, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack together have combined for 2 sacks. Not ideal. Not ideal at all.
Yeah. Major concern out in LA, but credit to them for rallying behind Justin and his terrific day, getting their first win of the year. Maybe this is a momentum. It's not a big win, but it is a win. And
Keenan
Minnesota,
Allen's a dog,
yeah,
by the way.
he's been him for a long time. So credit to him. Flip side of things, Minnesota very disappointing. I mean, the defense and rushing attack is what it is. We've seen that in the first 3 weeks. So.
Yep.
We'll move on to the Buffalo Bills and the Washington Commanders. Both of us really called this one. We didn't expect anything less. Buffalo looked so sound last week, and they really picked up that and intensified it this week. I think the defense had one of its better outings in a while. Really had Sam Howell and company in confusion and under wraps all day. Sacked him 9 times. 9 times. That is a lot. Wow. And 4 picks. I'm just now looking at this box score. Buffalo, tip of the cap to your defense, because that's the type of outing and performance you're going to need next week if you want a prayer the way this Miami Dolphins offense is looking. So hat tip to y'all. Josh Allen playing pretty sound. James Cook, another big day, 15 carries for 98 yards. Loving that out of the Buffalo ground attack, and just ain't going to harp on this anymore because it pretty much ended up being what we expected.
Yeah, I thought this game was exactly what we expected it to be, and I did think maybe the Commanders could get after Josh Allen a little bit with their front and cause him to, maybe generate some turnovers, but he was pretty clean in this football game. He only threw a pick, and he was very efficient and took what was there, and that's really all they needed Josh Allen to do. If he would have done that in week 1, they'd be 3-0 right now. And so, man, hats off to the Bills. They look like a very good football team, and like we've said, this week 4 matchup just couldn't look any juicier. This powerhouse Bills team versus Miami Dolphins and what seems to be an unstoppable offense. Man, let's see what this Buffalo Bills great defense does. I would love to see how they decide to match up against Miami. It's going to be one heck of a ball game, but not too much else to say here.
Yeah.
Commanders, Sam Howell needs to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, they got to clean up some things. I mean, credit to them for beating the teams they're kind of supposed to beat the first 2 weeks, but they came to earth a lot in week 3 here. Moving on to the opposite result of what we expected, one of the upsets of the weeks, and really just a testament to what we've seen so far from C.J. Stroud and company. The Houston Texans, they pretty much controlled this game start to finish against Jacksonville on the road, picking up their first win of the year, 37-17 win. They got a kickoff return, an exciting kickoff return if you hadn't seen that yet in this football game.
Yeah.
And C.J. Stroud just continues to impress, man. 20 of 30 for 280, a quarterback rating of 118. Tank Dell, the guy he pushed for them to draft, a big 5-catch, 145-yard day that included a long 68-yard touchdown catch. Just spreading the ball around to all his playmakers. And the defense got back on track to where I wanted them to see against a good Jacksonville offense. On the flip side, I thought Jacksonville just was underwhelming. This is a team you're supposed to beat at home, 1 o'clock. Obviously, I'm going to touch on a few more of those cases later in this pod. But, yeah, underwhelming performance from them.
I didn't watch this game. I'm going to have to, because what happened here? Really, what happened? I had no idea that this was going to happen. I thought Jacksonville was going to have a tune-up game for their offense, and this defense held Kansas City to 17 points last week, and then what? 37 to Houston, and you only put up 17. And Trevor Lawrence, didn't even play all that bad. Like, what happened here? I just got to go back and watch what happened in this football game. I don't want to sit up here and ramble about.
I get it. I get it completely, because Jacksonville we had such high hopes for, and I still want to pump the brakes because I think they're a talented team, but at the same time they're still young. They're still very young team.
Very young.
So these type of things are going to happen in the NFL, and this week seems to be the theme of it. We're going to touch on more of these games. So
They did
Just,
start slow last year too, and then they
they
got things really rolling later in the year. And some teams kind of operate like that. Cincinnati.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to hit the panic button, and this is why we love the NFL compared to college football. I mean, don't get us wrong; we'll tune into that as well. But week to week, you can get two totally different teams, and anybody can beat anybody. You're not going to see a 21 point favorite in any matchup between any two teams in this in this league. So that's why we love it. That's why we cover it, and we're going to move on to the heartbreaking part for me.
I'm sorry,
The
Chase.
other upset, yeah, the other upset of the week. I'm going to try not to spend too much time on this football game, but my Ravens did suffer their first loss today in overtime to the Indianapolis Colts, a 22-19 loss. I thought my takeaways from this game, defense, they're still putting together admirable performances considering how banged up they are. Get this out of the way. I'm trying not to just bank on these excuses, but missing 7 starters is a thing.
Yes.
That said, our depth should be good enough to beat this football team, and I think this was a case of the early returns of this offense taking a step forward last week, and now it's 2 steps back. It's very much going to be just this learning experience for this new look offense because the defense played fine today. They were doing what they usually do, no big plays, keeping everything in front of them. Credit to Indy for establishing a pretty solid run game early on, and Gardner Minshew just took what was given to him and moved the chains a lot of times, and the Ravens just forced them into a long field goal, which Matt Gay had a day. He historic 4 50-plus yard field goals made, really drilled every single one, no doubt about it. So credit to him and credit this Colts team for playing so well. I will say in overtime, unfortunate miss from the refs on 4th and 3. Zay Flowers got hooked for a should have been called defensive pass interference right at midfield. So we get that penalty. Maybe Justin Tucker is making that game winning kick. But for the Ravens, I'm not going to use that excuse because you got to play better and not allow those things to determine this outcome because you're the better football team. And you got to establish that, especially on the offensive side. To where they looked so good in the first drive, but once again, fumbles. A Kenyon Drake fumble to kill the momentum. And then Lamar had a couple just sloppy play on the offensive side, which was to be expected early on this year. So tough loss for me and my team, but we'll move on and try to get after Cleveland next week.
Yeah, the Colts definitely have surpassed expectations. We talked about this last couple weeks. They just look better than at least me and you thought. I know Christian was a little bit higher on the Colts, and man, I think the Colts offensive line is really where a lot of this is stemming from, is their ability to get movement up front, because by no means is Zach Moss a great running back. He had himself a pretty consistent day, and running lanes were there. He was, just running straight ahead and taking what was there and being able to stay ahead of the sticks, and Gardner Minshew just take what's there. Baltimore being banged up allowed them to, just stay on schedule and play their brand of football, and that's what happened in this football game. And you foil that with the unfortunate turnovers, fumbles, and things like that. It kind of created this unfortunate scenario where you're just put in the wrong position right at the end of the game, and the Colts stole it from you.
Yeah,
basically what happened.
Took advantage. Credit. Truly, 1,000 ways to lose a football game on the Ravens end, and then you flip that over, and the Colts just playing picture perfect, well coached football.
Yep.
Something I didn't even touch on was the clock management. We were up 19-16 in the fourth quarter. John, I'm seeing that. Let me see if I can pull up this quote from John Harbaugh here, because the clock was under the 2-minute warning, and they put more time on the clock. Let's see if I can find Jeff's tweet. I know he had something on this. Let's see. Harbaugh said the plan was to fair catch the free kick after the safety that we thought wrapped the game up because the clock was under 2 minutes. They added more time on, and they didn't communicate that to the players. So when Zay Flowers fair catch that free kick, that gave essentially the Colts another timeout. Yeah, so that was big. The Ravens, you got to spend a timeout there and communicate that to everyone. So he catches that ball, runs around for 2 or 3 seconds, gets to the 2-minute warning, and costs the Colts a timeout. Just poor coaching on our part there, and a credit to Colts for rallying and just playing sound football all day. So to move to 2-1, a surprise to everyone, mostly me and you, but credit to Christian for being on them.
Zay Flowers, man, he's the vocal point in this offense. It looks like right now
I,
they're incorporating him in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, I wanted that's to me this is what the disappointment stems from in the offense. I'm trying not to spend a lot of time here, but last season we were so deprived of any type of big play, and today we didn't even take a shot. It was mostly dump the ball underneath to Zay and hope he makes a lot of people miss. And the Colts were just playing like sound football. He may have made one guy miss, but they rallied to the football and tackle for a short gain. So the Ravens, you've got playmakers, like you've got them outside. I know OBJ was out this game, but force the issue a little bit. I'm okay with it. I just want to see the attempts and to loosen up that the room for the rushing attack and everything else underneath. So that's going to be the early hiccups with this offense. I'm not saying I didn't expect that. So we'll move on to the 4 o'clock slate. We only have a few games to get here, but the first one's going to be Seattle. Really good rebound these last 2 weeks from Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith after the poor Week 1 performance against LA. They took this one 37-27 against Carolina, and Carolina dropping to 0-3. Of course, they were led by Andy Dalton in this game, and he passed 58 attempts in this game. Wow. Don't need that if you're Carolina. But credit to Seattle because they were really balanced. Kenneth Walker, 18 for 97, and he got 59 through the air. DK Metcalf had over 100 in the air receiving. So complimentary football for Seattle. The outcome we expected and just what we wanted to see from the Seattle team to be the NL wildcard type team we think they are.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And, this is kind of a weird game because you don't really know what to expect out of Carolina right now, especially with Bryce Young being sidelined. Andy Dalton comfortably had the most yards passing they've had through 3 weeks, I would say, and their offense looked pretty competent through the air. And so you don't know what to think. Is Andy Dalton good? Or Seattle's pass defense just not what you want it to be? I mean, that's
outside
where
of
I'm
Woolen,
leaning.
that's a big concern for me. Because
Yes.
Matt Stafford picked them apart. They didn't look much better last week. Yeah, outside of Woolen, the Seattle secondary has got some major flags in my book.
Devin Witherspoon, first-round pick. What's going on there? I mean, Kobe Bryant, I believe is his name. He's the other corner. I mean, you would think with all the investment they've made into this defense, it would be better. But then on the other side of things, this offense looks to be exactly what they wanted and what we thought it would be before the season. And Geno Smith just playing good football, consistent football, getting the ball out to his guys. He's got plenty of playmakers, and this running game was phenomenal, man. I mean, this is what I expected out of this offense, and I'm glad to see it because I like Seattle.
Yeah, they're a fun watch, man. Geno's always, since he's taken the helm at Seattle, that's been a fun team to watch. So we're going to look for get some more high-powered receiving rooms to see, because getting lit up by that receiving room for what they did, that's a concern. So we got to watch that going forward. Moving on, we've got maybe the most disappointing. I don't know if it's the most disappointing, but the most heartbreaking team to watch right now for me. Outside of the New York Jets is the Chicago Bears because I see Justin Fields out there and I'm drastically rooting for him to make plays and he makes throws, guys drop, the offense gets stagnant in the ground game, just whatever it may be. It's a tough watch right now. And they were up against it. They had travel to Arrowhead and face Patrick Mahomes and company, and they didn't disappoint. They did exactly what they usually do. Travis Kelce had a semi-big day, his biggest day since coming back, 7 catches for almost 70 yards. And your guy, Rashee Rice, having another sound day, 5 catches for 59 to lead that receiving corps. Patrick Mahomes does what he did. But for the second week in a row, I'm going to touch on the Bears side because they're more of the talking point, in my opinion. We've seen the coaching and the headbutting between fields and all that media narrative getting spun right now around this team. And then now the DC has resigned for the off-the-field things we're not going to get into on this pod. Just a team with so much around it right now that I'm really hoping doesn't spiral Justin Fields' career into the negative direction it seems to be heading because I think the talent is so great. So just really hoping they can turn things around. Any comments on either of these teams, Ryan?
Yeah, man. I've been very vocal in my support for Justin Fields and him as a player and the talent that I think he possesses. But, man, it couldn't be rougher right now. I mean, this offense is, just putrid. He didn't even have 100 yards through the air in this football game. He had
Oh,
99 yards passing. And, I mean, just from someone that watches Tua play football and watches this Miami offense, Justin Fields just does not know how to play quarterback, it looks like. And I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I'm just about as big as any Justin Fields believer out there. And he just doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. He's not positioning himself in the pocket. He's no pocket presence at all. He's not seeing it on the field. Man, I watched this one for about a quarter and turned it off. It was just
you saw all you needed to see early. We by no means did we think Chicago was going to travel to Arrowhead and pull off a major upset, which happened in these games this week. This game we still didn't think was a possibility because we think that much of Kansas City and we've seen what we've seen out of Chicago. But it's still heartbreaking to watch because they went out and traded. Yeah, it's sad because they went out and traded for the DJ Moore. They made these attempts to just build the momentum Justin created at the end of last season, and now it's gotten away from the athleticism and the playmaking, the style of play he had last year. To now is just everything between the ears for Justin Fields. This game, this sport, honestly, is just like any other. Baseball, golf, whatever you may play, whatever you may experience, so much of it is mental. Being prepared before the snap. And Justin looks about as lost as any quarterback before the snap as I've seen in NFL this year. And it's heartbreaking to watch. So
I had one more thing I wanted to say about that, and it's like, the quarterback position is so different than so many positions across so many sports because of how mental the position is. You can have the strongest arm out there, you can be the best athlete out there, but at the end of the day, it's about getting your guys lined up, understanding what your play is designed to do, understanding how the defense is trying to attack you, and as a quarterback, be able to process that and be able to, one, avoid negative plays and put the ball where it needs to be on time. That's what quarterback is, and so much of that is a mental game, not a physical game. And so seeing games like this with Justin Fields, who has all the physical talent in the world, just, is a little bit uninspiring. That's the last thing I have to say about it.
Yeah, go talk to or listen to any Peyton Manning interview ever, and he'll tell you how many times on his hand he threw a tight spiral with a football on a touchdown pass. He was the most prepared guy before the snap that I've ever seen play this quarterback position, and that's a testament as what that part of the game can take you to. So seeing some of these younger guys establish that, we've seen Tua do that now. Justin Herbert seems to have accomplished that when he's forced to. So we're pulling for more guys to showcase that. We think Justin Fields and company have that ability, but unfortunately, so far 2023, it's not there. We'll keep an eye and just root for some different results in the coming weeks. So moving along to our final 425 game here. Honestly, I know Houston and Indy were upsets. I want to say this is the upset of the week. I think I'm going with this one just because of how dominant Arizona has been. Honestly, offensively, they have looked the part all year to me. Josh Dobbs, you're playing good football, brother. Shout out to you. And today they put it all together on the defensive side of the ball. Tony Pollard still got his. Dak Prescott got this, found CeeDee Lamb a few times, and they moved the ball. But credit to the Arizona defense to rallying and just bending but don't break and getting the turnovers. They got a crucial late game turnover to pretty much ice this one and just not beating themselves on offense. In this league, you can win football games when you just take care of the football, don't beat yourself, and play complementary in the defense and special teams areas. That's exactly what Arizona did. James Conner had a nice day on the ground. They had a long touchdown catch, or was it? It was a run. It was a touchdown run from Rondell Moore on a little gadget type play for 44 yards. So credit them. I'm happy to see them get their first win against a good team in Dallas. I think they just had a rough week. Losing Trayvon Diggs in practice. Like the vibes couldn't have been high going into this game. It's hard to get yourself up after losing one of your best players on defense. So I understand the let down and traveling out west and being flat for this game for Dallas. Completely understand that. Not writing Dallas off by any means. That said, we're going to have to watch the secondary. We definitely have to watch how the secondary looks without Trayvon Diggs now for the year. But flipping on the other side, credit to Arizona and Josh Dobbs. Congrats to you. Y'all have played good football. You deserve your first win.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to hit on a whole lot because you just pretty much covered it. But what I will say is, if you're Dallas, these are not the games you can afford to lose. I mean, you're a very good football team.
Not with Philadelphia in your division.
No.
We lost today, but Cincinnati starting 0-2 has benefited us a loss like that. Dallas, that's a lot harder to say when you got Philly in your division.
And as soon as I got fooled, man, by Dallas, and I started thinking, man, they deserve to be up there in the Super Bowl conversation with the 49ers and the Eagles and these other guys. And then they come out and lay an egg like this. And what my mind goes to, and one, the defense that all of us thought was so great. Of course, they had a huge loss, but who on this Arizona offensive line was blocking up Micah Parsons?
I want to say he went out hurt. I'm going to have to look back on this, but I know he got banged up in this game. I've seen him getting treatment on the sideline. I haven't looked to see if it's any type of significant injury. I don't believe it is because he stayed on the sideline for much of this game. But I'm going to have to see the snap count and everything. But, yeah, him being banged up will do a lot to this Dallas defense.
Yeah, and then the other thing is when the Cowboys offense gets put in a bad situation and they have to rely on Dak Prescott to win them the football game, I just don't think he's going to be able to do it, man. Of course, he's going to have his moments because he does. He's had them, and it's been a trend for him. He has his moments, but he also has his bad moments like this, and we kind of know what he is at this point. He's a pretty volatile player. He's going to have his ups and he's going to have his downs, but you got to be able to hit layups like this. I need to watch the game. I get that part. I watched the Panthers-Seahawks game in the 4 o'clock slate, but I still kept an eye on this one, and I was just utterly shocked that Arizona beat them because the talent gap couldn't be bigger. Dallas is just a much better football team, and Arizona came in and just punched them in the mouth, man. They played down to their competition, and like I said, I think if Dallas wants to be taken serious, they want to be in that Super Bowl conversation, these are the kind of games they got to win. And if Dak Prescott wants to be in that league top-tier quarterback situation or conversation, he needs to elevate his team to not have losses like this.
Couldn't agree more, Brian. And they have looked at like the best team in the first 2 weeks, in my opinion. That's why I was with you, ready to assert themselves into the 49ers territory, into the Philadelphia territory as the team to look for to come out of this NFC side. But traveling and laying this egg, like you said, against an Arizona team where the talent gap is so wide is concerning. Albeit, I'm gonna place that on the deflation that the Trayvon Diggs and the West Coast trip has played into this football game. I'm gonna give each team 1 week of these a year. When it comes, who knows? Dallas usually is good for more than one, so if these become a more regular thing, they keep playing down to say a Washington Commanders team who we think they have a superior talent gap on. But if they drop one of those games this year, if they drop a game to New York, the second game to New York without Saquon, those are the type of losses that Dallas has kind of been known for, and they can afford. Not if you want to keep up with the Philadelphia Eagles in this division.
Yep.
But that said, that was the theme of this week. NFL Week 3, we had 3 major upsets, I'd say. The rest of the games kind of checked out how we thought they would, but exciting football nonetheless. Historic day for Brian's Miami Dolphins and that offense. So that was a treat to watch. Looking forward to the Week 4 matchup with Buffalo. When we come back with you guys, we'll have to recap the ongoing Steelers-Raiders Sunday night football game, a 7-7 game as we speak right now, and 2 more Monday night football games. Looks like to be the theme early on. We'll have to recap Eagles-Bucks and Rams-Bengals, which is really the mouthwatering one for me. We will do so with our third partner in crime finally back Wednesday night on that preview show and the recap of those games. Before we get out of here, Brian, any late comments or notes you have for the guys?
Absolutely. I got a couple things I wanted to say before we get out of here. They're all relating to the historic beatdown we saw today with the Miami Dolphins over the Denver Broncos. One of which being this was the second most yards in NFL history since 1951.
Wow.
And they could have beat it. They also could have scored the most points in NFL history. They had an opportunity to kick a field goal at the end of the game. They did not. And they also could have broke the most yards in NFL history today if they decided to run one more play, but they decided not to. So, I mean, and then the last thing I wanted to say, they've been tracking GPS times this year, and so far through the first couple weeks, Miami Dolphins have all 5 of the top fastest times, and Devon Achane broke 22 miles per hour on a 25-yard run today. That's like unheard of. I mean,
that's impressive. Y'all have truly built a track team, and absent of Jalen Waddle today, to still put up 70 points in an NFL game. We gave the love to your team today for a reason. That's unheard of. Credit to your guys' coaching staff, your playmakers, Tua for operating this high-octane offense, and Mike McDaniel, I think, for my money, one of the brightest offensive minds in this sport. Just really putting it together and operating at a high level right now. Yeah, you deserve to give all the love. Anything else for the audience, Brian, before we get out of here?
No, that's pretty much it, man. As a Dolphins fan, you know, we deserve it. It's been too long. It's been too long.
Hey, credit to you, man. Y'all have been through it. You've said it time and time again throughout your lifetime. This is the most fun I'm sure you've had watching Dolphins football in quite some time. Historic take of football today. Unfortunately, my Ravens were on the opposite end of that, but we'll look to bounce back week 4. I believe we played Cleveland. We'll have a preview for Brian's Dolphins and the Bills and mouth-watering matchup when we get together again. And we'll have our buddy Christian back with us to break down and preview all week 4 action coming up for you guys and recap those primetime football games. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment, whatever you see, TikTok, your Apple podcast feeds, your Spotify feeds, and YouTube Shorts, whatever you see that we put out there, please do us a favor, like, comment, and share. Tell your friends and get this thing moving. We're loving every second we get to provide of coverage and analysis of football for you guys, because this is what we enjoy doing our Sundays, and we spend a lot of time and effort breaking these things down. So thank you to all that listen, and we will plan on seeing you guys Wednesday night for the Week 4 preview. Peace out.
Peace out.